The great hall of the Galactic Dominion was a place of fear. It was built from dark crystal and silver steel. Floating above the ruined surface of Kara 9, a dead planet turned into a court of mockery. Above the arena, thousands of alien faces watched from floating stands. Their eyes were cold, cruel, amused. Laughter echoed through the chamber like sharp knives. On the platform below, single figures stood in silence. He was human. The last one. His hands were bound with energy cuffs. His clothes were torn and dusty. His head was shaved clean. Round his neck hung a thin chain with a small metal disc, the only thing he had been allowed to keep. He stared at the floor, his expression calm, blank. He had not spoken since the day he was captured. The Varn judges, tall and lizard-like, with scaled gold armor and burning red eyes, took turns speaking. Their voices were deep, filled with pride and hatred. Let the record show, the human is silent again today. More laughter. This is the last child of Earth, one Varn said. The weak ones, who thought they could stand against us, had no fleets, no allies, no legacy. A blueskin ambassador from the Shal Federation raised her hand. "We should study him," she said. "Understand how the humans collapsed so quickly." "They didn't collapse," another alien muttered. "They vanished." The Varn judge slammed his staff on the ground. "Enough," he growled. "We are not here to honor them. We are here to erase them. Let his name be forgotten." The lights dimmed. A hologram filled the air above the human. It showed the history of Earth cities burning, fleets falling, the last cry of its leaders. The final message had been short. Earth will return. Then, silence. The crowd laughed again. The human, still standing in the center of the platform, didn't move. He didn't look up. His breathing was slow, steady. One of the Varn leaned in, staring at him. "Speak, human. Show us you're still alive. Say something. Beg for mercy." Nothing. Another Varn approached and shoved him hard. The human staggered, but didn't fall. He straightened his back and looked. The judge in the eye. Still no words. The silence was starting to make some of the crowd uncomfortable. The laughter faded. Murmurs began to spread. Why is he not afraid? Why doesn't he speak? What does he know? Above the platform, the Dominion's war general Zeltek watched with a cold stare. His massive body was covered in black armor, his claws tapping on the rail, leaned closer to one of his officers. "Has the scan finished, Miss General?" "His body is clean. No weapons. No implants. Just dot. That pendant." Zeltek narrowed his eyes. "Analyze it." The officer nodded and sent the command. The pendant around the human's neck blinked once. Just once. Down below, the human blinked too. The energy cuff sparked. Not much. Just a flicker. Zaldash Tech stood up. "Wait, that signal. Check all nearby systems. Power signatures, frequencies." The court guards moved fast, typing commands into their consoles. One of them gasped. Theirs? Ost? Large. Very large. Another looked at him. "Is it Dominion?" "No, it's untagged." A hologram above the courtroom flickered, then changed. It showed a dark, massive shape sliding from the shadow of a nearby moon. A ship? No. 3 ships. Long, sharp, black as space itself. Not made by any known species. They didn't send a message. They didn't answer hails. They just moved slowly. Deliberately, double quotes. "Where did these come from?" Zeltek demanded. "We don't know." The human finally raised his head. His eyes were sharp, focused, alive. He took a breath and spoke. "They're not here for peace." The entire courtroom went silent. For the first time in 100 years, human voice echoed across the Dominion's highest court. One of the Varns screamed, "What are those ships? Answer." The human turned slightly, his voice calm. "Defender class. Earth built them before the fall. We hid them." "That's impossible," another shouted. "You had nothing left?" The human looked up at the hologram. His voice dropped to a whisper. We had time. Outside the courtroom station, the 3 Defender-class ships began to move into a triangle formation. Energy readings spiked. Shields activated. Weapons hummed. On every Dominion channel, an old Earth voice began to speak in every language known to the galaxy. Defender class online, Earth protocol active, enemies of Earth, stand down or be purged. Zaltek stepped back, rage on his face. Attack. Now, destroy them. But before the orders could be sent, the ships vanished, just blinked out of normal space, and reappeared right next to the court ship. 1. Defender ship hovered directly. Outside the courtroom's viewing window, the Varn screamed. Panic spread through the court. Weapon systems were jammed, communications were silent. Then, second voice came from the human, not spoken. It came from the pendant. It was the voice of Earth. You mocked the silence. Now hear our storm. The courtroom lights flickered again. Energy cuffs around the human's wrists broke apart with a soft hiss. He stepped forward. No one stopped. He wasn't a prisoner anymore. He stood in the center of the courtroom and looked up at the sky through the glass dome. Stars shone like cold fire behind him. The defender ships began charging weapons. One of the aliens ran toward him, shouting, "What do you want? What is this?" The human turned and answered, "Balance." Zeltek growled, "You dare bring war to this place? You are one man." The human smiled for the first time. "I'm not alone." Outside, the first shot fired. It wasn't loud. It wasn't bright. It was pure. A beam of light struck a Dominion battleship in orbit and erased it in one breath. Screams filled the hall. Ships began to explode above the planet. Defender-class warships moved like ghosts, untouchable, precise. Its shot was exact. No waste, no mercy. The human stood still as the stars turned red inside the courtroom. Chaos reigned. Guards fled. Ambassadors cried out. Only the human remained calm. He walked slowly to the exit. As he passed the Varn, judges, one of them reached out. "What will you do now?" The human looked at him. "Listen." In the distance, steel screamed. Alien metal cracked under old Earth fire. It was just the beginning. Kale sat alone in a dark chamber aboard the ancient ship Argent Halo. The Defender-class warship hummed with quiet energy. Its walls were smooth, black, alive with shifting blue light. No crew walked the halls, no footsteps echoed, only the silent thrum of the ship's heart. He touched the pendant again. It was warm now, awake. A voice spoke in his mind, not loud, not soft, familiar. It had waited a long time to be heard. Authentication confirmed. Commander Kale Mara, last keeper of Earth's flame. Kale closed his eyes. He remembered the day the world ended. Not with fire, not with silence, but with a choice. Earth had known it couldn't win the war against the Dominion. Their fleets were too fast, their weapons too advanced. The galaxy didn't care about fairness, only fear. So Earth had disappeared, not vanished, hidden. While the Dominion pushed forward, thinking they had broken humanity, the brightest minds of Earth were building something in the shadows. Ships AI. Defense systems that could wait 100 years or more. Kale had been only 17 when the AI chose him. He was quiet, smart, a listener, not a soldier. But they didn't need warriors anymore. They needed someone who could survive, someone who could carry the key. Pendant and sent him away. The Dominion never found the real bunkers, never found the ships. It just destroyed the surface and believed that was enough. It wasn't. Now the 3 Defender-class ships, Argent Halo, Oblivion Wake, and Crimson Thread, were active again. Not fully, but enough to fight. Kale stood up and walked into the command chamber. No captain's chair, no controls. Just a smooth floor and a large floating sphere of light in the center of the AI core. "Report," Kale said. The AI's voice filled the room. Orbit secured. Dominion fleets disabled. 17 vessels confirmed destroyed. The rest have retreated beyond range. Kale nodded slowly. He looked through the forward view. The courtroom station still floated in the distance, damaged but intact. Escape pods had launched. He'd allowed them to flee. Let them carry the story home. Let the stars whisper it, the silent human, the war machines, the fire of Earth. Still, Kale knew this was only the beginning. Are there other systems still listening? He asked. The AI pulsed. Yes, dozens. Broadcasts are spreading. But the message was received. What message? Humanity lives. Kale looked down. He had waited for so long, carried the silence like armor. Now the galaxy was listening. But would they listen long enough? A soft chime rang through the chamber. An incoming signal, unusual, encrypted. Kale narrowed his eyes. Origin, unknown. Signal is not Dominion. It's not Varn. It uses partial. Earth coding very old and incomplete. Kale's heart skipped. Open it. A voice filled the room. Rough, statocraft, but human. To any Earth asset, this is Beacon 6. Repeat, Beacon 6. Colony dark. Partial systems online. Survivors. Status unknown. I-link broken. If this signal is reaching you, we are not gone. Kale froze. Play that. The message repeated. Human voice. Alive. Not AI. Not simulation. Real. He looked at the pendant again. Could it be true? Another human colony had survived? The AI answered his thought. Signal location. Vector 71N. Outer drift space. Deep void. No recent travel paths. If the coordinates are accurate, it predates Earthfall. How many others knew? None. The pendant began to blink again. Faster. Stronger. Calling the AI spoke with a lower tone now. Almost. Warning. Multiple Dominion ships are rerouting. They're tracking the same signal. Kale clenched his jaw. So the race had already begun. He turned back to the AI sphere. Plot course to Beacon 6. Wake the others. Confirmed. The chamber lights dimmed. From outside the Argent Halo, the two other Defender-class ships aligned beside her, their engines flaring with silent light. In a smooth, seamless movement, the trio of warships vanished from orbit. No flash, no sound. Just gone. Moments later, the empty courtroom station behind them exploded. A warning. No more trials. No more mockery. The galaxy would no longer judge. Earth, not without fire answering. Hours passed in slip space. The journey to deep void was long, even with Earth tech. Time felt slower. The AI remained quiet unless spoken to. Kale sat in silence again, watching old Earth recordings in the dark. Oceans, cities, laughter. Things he had never seen in person, only stories. He didn't even know what birds sounded like, except for recordings. And yet, his mind drifted not to the past, but to Beacon 6. Who were they? How had they survived? Did they remember Earth? Would they trust him? Then a new alert sounded. They had arrived. Slipspace tore open with a soft ripple, and the three ships exited into the dark. Very dark. No stars, just a dead zone of frozen rock, dead moons, and a black gas giant turning slowly in the distance. Scan, Kale whispered. Beacon located. Surface buried beneath asteroid crust. Energy faint. Structure intact. He leaned forward. Any signs of life? Unknown. Biosigns are distorted. Too deep. Kale nodded slowly. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Prep drop shuttle. I'll go myself. The AI hesitated. That is not recommended. Threat probability high. I know. The pendant blinked again, calling. Kale stepped onto the drop shuttle a few minutes later. The Defender ship launched him in silence, guiding him down toward the massive asteroid where Beacon 6 waited. The surface was cracked, ancient, covered in jagged dust and debris. His shuttle cut through it all and landed near a half-buried structure, a dome, broken in places, still, glowing with the last flickers of power. He stepped outside. The silence was heavier here, not peaceful. Watching, he walked toward the dome, heart pounding. As he reached the door, his pendant pulsed again. The door opened. The side lights flickered to life. Warm alert, lights warm. Familiar. He walked deeper. Tunnels stretched in every direction, once built by human hands, now dusty and weak. His footsteps echoed. Then he heard it. A sound, not machine, not wind. A voice. From the shadows ahead. Is it really you? Cale stopped. Someone stood there. Thin, pale, human, holding a weapon aimed at him, but hands shaking. I don't believe it, the stranger whispered. We thought we were the last. Cale stared. You're not. Behind the stranger, others appeared. More. Children, elders, survivors. They looked at him with fear and hope mixed together. Cale removed the pendant and held it up. I came from Earth. One of the survivors stepped forward, her eyes wide. Earth fell. No, Cale said. Earth waited. Then he looked up as a warning flashed in his mind. Above the asteroid, Dominion ships were arriving. The silence had spoken. The war would come for them all. Cale stared at the survivors. Their faces were pale, their clothes patched and worn. Most were barefoot. All of them looked tired, not just from today, but from years of surviving something they should never have survived. Still, they were. Alive. A woman stepped forward. Her voice was strong, even though her arms trembled. How did you find us? Cale held up the blinking pendant. You called. We heard you. The group looked at each other in disbelief. Some began to cry. Others whispered. Prayers. The silence of Beacon 6 was broken, not by machines, but by hope. Then the walls shook. Dust fell from the ceiling. Cale's voice turned cold. They're here. Above the surface, Dominion ships broke through orbit. 3 destroyers, fast and aggressive, scanned the asteroid with their pulse lasers. They had followed the signal, too. They weren't here to save anyone. They were here to erase the last witness. Cale turned to the survivors. Where's your control room? We need to shut down the signal and move. The older man with a white beard nodded this way. They ran through dark tunnels. Emergency lights blinked on and off. Somewhere deep in the structure, old Earth systems still functioned. But barely. We woke the signal 2 days ago, the man said, breathless. Didn't expect anyone to still be listening. Cale nodded. You're lucky I was. You're late, the man said, half smiling. Another blast shook the tunnels. This one was stronger. Metal beams groaned. A child screamed. Cale stopped and looked up. They've started bombing the surface. We need to go now. They reached the control room, a small chamber filled with broken screens, flickering lights, and a single working terminal. Cale stepped forward and plugged his pendant into the interface. The room lit up. The AI from the Defender-class ship spoke through the speakers. Signal connection stable. Uploading evacuation protocols. Emergency defense grid. We have a defense grid? One woman asked. No, Cale said, typing. I do. Outside the asteroid, the 3 Defender-class ships Argent Halo, Crimson Thread, and Oblivion Wake came out of stealth mode. Their shields flared. Their weapons activated. The Dominion didn't hesitate. They opened fire, but this time, Earth's machines answered. Inside the control room, the lights shifted from red to blue. Defender-class weapons online. Counterattack authorized, Cale whispered. Give them something to remember. Above, the Dominion destroyers tried to retreat, but it was too late. A bright white beam tore through the black sky, slicing one of the ships in half. The explosion lit up the surface of the asteroid like a second sun. The survivors, watching from below, gasped. The second Dominion ship launched fighters. Dozens of them, but the Crimson Thread was faster. It moved like a ghost, dodging and firing. The fighters were erased in seconds. The third Dominion ship tried to run. It didn't make it far, Missile from the Oblivion Wake followed it for 30 seconds, then detonated in complete silence. Only fire remained. The battle was over. Cale pulled the pendant free. He turned to the survivors. Your home is lost, but you are not. Where will we go? The old man asked. Cale looked toward the surface. to the ships. But another alert came through the speakers. Warning. New vessels detected. 17 Dominion-class dreadnoughts. Inbound. Estimated arrival? 14 hours. The survivors looked around, fear creeping in again. That's not just a patrol, someone whispered. That's a war fleet. They know we're alive, Cale said quietly. They want to finish what they started. The bearded man shook his head. We can't fight that many. No, Cale agreed. But we don't have to fight alone. He stood, thinking fast. His voice was steady. We need to send a message. Not just to my ships. To everyone. All species. All systems. All the ones who laughed. Who watched us burn. He looked around the dusty room. Let them know Earth is speaking again, the AI's voice responded. Galactic broadcast channels. Ready. Message will be heard in all major sectors within 24 hours. Cale stepped up to the terminal. He pressed the record button. His voice went across the stars. This is Cale Mara Human, last keeper of Earth's flame. You watched our cities burn. You cheered when our fleets fell. You thought we were gone, but we waited, and we built, and now we remember everything. You called us weak, but now your skies burn with our silence. We are not here for revenge. We are here for truth. If you remember. Earth come. If you fear Earth, run. We are coming home. Asterisk, asterisk, he ended the message. The AI confirmed the broadcast was sent. The silence that followed was heavier than before. The survivors looked at Cale like he was no longer just a man, but something else. A symbol. A warning. A warning. Oh, storm, Cale. Turn toward the tunnel. We leave in 20 minutes. Bring only what you can carry. My ships have food, water, medical supplies. Someone asked, will they hold all of us? They were built for more than war, Cale answered. They were built for us. As the survivors prepared, Cale looked. Once more at the stars, he knew 17 dreadnoughts would not be the end. It would only get worse. The Dominion couldn't allow the truth to spread that Earth had survived. That Earth had power again. He didn't blame them. He wanted them afraid. His pendant pulsed with quiet light. Huh? Voice inside spoke softly. Prepare, Commander. The defenders awaken. Cale closed his eyes. He could already hear the steel screaming. The hangar of the Argent Halo hummed with soft, glowing light. Survivors from Beacon 6 stepped out of the drop shuttles in silence, their eyes wide, their breath shallow. For many, it was the first time in their lives they had left the underground colony. For others, it was their first time seeing a ship that still worked, let alone a ship that was once Earth's top war machine. The children clutched their parents. The elders whispered prayers. No one laughed. No one asked questions. They only looked at the walls, the corridors, the lights that never flickered. It all felt like a dream. Cale walked ahead of them, his boots echoing in the steel corridor. He didn't smile. He didn't speak. Not yet. The AI's voice broke the silence. Refugees from Beacon 6, logged. Bioscans complete. No infections. Genetic markers verified, all human. Cale nodded. The survivors were being led to temporary quarters, old crew rooms. Medical bays, storage areas now made into shelters. It wouldn't be comfortable, but it would be safe. Safer than the dead asteroid behind them. Cale turned and walked alone toward the ship's core chamber. The curved black doors slid open as he approached. Inside, the AI's core sphere floated above the floor, pulsing with deep blue light. He stood before it. Status, he said. Enemy fleet ETA. 12 hours. 17 confirmed dreadnoughts. 1. Command carrier. Full Dominion assault class. Cale exhaled through his nose. Too many. Too many for direct engagement, the AI agreed. One defender class cannot hold against all of them. Even 3 would fail under full firepower. Cale paced. What about the others? He asked the sleepers. The AI paused. Partial data found. 17 Earth fallback ships confirmed hidden in drift space. Coordinates unstable. Last ping, 89 years ago. ships in deep hibernation. Kale turned toward the glowing sphere. If we wake them, the AI said, we have a fleet. The pendant around Kale's neck grew warmer. A signal pulsed from it, subtle, steady. The AI caught it immediately. Broadcast key confirmed. Emergency signal prepared. One-time use activation pulse ready. Kale took a breath. Send. The lights in the chamber dimmed. The walls trembled. A golden beam of light rose from the core sphere, passed through the pendant, and vanished into the stars. Far away across black space where no ships dared travel. Things began to stir. Old codes blinked back to life. Frozen reactors. Guns turned. Names forgotten by the galaxy lit up across ancient metal holes. Eclipse Arrow, Steel Shepherd, Ash Whisper, Vengeance Hollow, Radiant Wound, Ditch. One once commanded by Earth's best, now empty. Waiting, and now called home. Back aboard the Argent Halo, Kale's eyes stayed fixed on the AI sphere. How long? Unknown. If even half respond? We could engage. Kale's jaw tightened. Not engage, he said. Trap? The AI paused, intrigued. You plan to bait them? Want the Dominion to think they've cornered us? Kale said, I want them to chase us. Fight, he said. Let's give them one. Outside, the two other Defender-class ships, Crimson Thread and Oblivion Wake, began to shift formation. Within their cores, long-dormant systems came online, shields recalibrated, cloaking arrays sharpened, drone bays activated. Each ship carried thousands of combat drones, silent, fast, cold, made not for long war, but for shock. Kale left the core chamber and returned to the command deck. The screen in front of him showed a slowly growing red line, the enemy fleet. It was closing fast. But now Earth's defenders were no longer running. They were waiting. Kale activated a private channel. Begin Operation Cinder Mirror, said. Across all three ships, AI cores answered as one, acknowledged. The plan was simple, in theory. Kale would let the Dominion see him, then vanish. They'd follow. They always did. They believed they were the only hunters in the galaxy, but not this time. Kale would draw them. Into drift space, into the old graves of Earth's hidden fleet, and then the silence would speak again. Hours passed in the refugee quarters. The survivors slept restlessly. Some clutched each other. Some stared at the glowing ceilings like they were afraid to blink and find it all gone. Kale didn't sleep. He stood on the forward deck, helmet under his arm, armored suit sealed tight. He looked out into the stars. Time, he asked. Enemy ships entering scan range. Engagement imminent. He nodded once. Open wideband channel. Channel open. Kale stepped into view of the forward screen. He knew Dominion ships would see him. He wanted them to. He looked straight ahead, not smiling, not angry. .com. Then he spoke. You wanted silence? You wanted ashes? You wanted to bury Earth? He leaned forward. But fire doesn't stay buried. And he vanished. All three Defender-class ships cloaked instantly, leaving no trace to the Dominion. It looked like a trick. A coward's retreat. So they followed, every single one of them, into the dark. Into the trap slip space cracked open. The 17 Dominion dreadnoughts and their carrier tore across space like hungry wolves chasing one wounded deer. But when they arrived, there were no deer, only teeth. The old Earth ships awakened. Waiting activated as one. Fleets that had not moved in 100 years came alive. The Dominion never expected it. The Eclipse Arrow opened with a kinetic lance that tore through the command ship's bow. The Steel Shepherd launched 100 drones in a silent storm of destruction. Kale's 3 Defender-class ships dropped in next, behind the enemy surrounding them. The Dominion fleet turned in panic, trapped, overwhelmed, and then the battlefield disappeared in white light. And shattered metal from the bridge of the Argent Halo. Kale watched in silence. He didn't cheer. He didn't speak. He only watched, because he knew. This wasn't the end. It was the beginning. He turned to the AI. "Send one message to the galaxy," he said. 4 words. "What words?" Kale looked out at the burning wreckage and whispered, "Earth is no myth." The stars were quiet again. Burning metal drifted through space like dead leaves. The Dominion fleet was gone, destroyed, scattered, or captured. The silence that followed felt deeper than before, as if the galaxy itself was holding its breath. Kale stood on the command deck of the Argent Halo, his eyes fixed on the glowing wreckage. Fires still burned in the distance, flickering against the black canvas of space, but they were already fading. The battle was over, but something else had started. All over the ship, survivors of Beacon 6 watched in stunned silence. They had felt the impact, heard the explosions through the walls. They waited, unsure if they should be afraid or amazed. Then came the message. It wasn't from Kale. It wasn't even from Earth. The AI's voice came through, colder than usual. "Incoming encrypted signal, not Dominion, source unknown." Broadcasting now. A new voice filled the ship. Calm, deep, calculated. "This is Archon Vorak, of the Covenant of Species. Earth has violated the Treaty of Final Silence. Use a dormant. War-class technology is forbidden. Stand down or be erased." Kale didn't flinch. He simply stared at the screen. The AI turned to him. "Covenant signal verified. Cross-species tribunal authority. They've heard the signal." Kale nodded once. Of course they did. That's the point. He turned toward the command crew, all AI, all Earth-coded, all waiting. They weren't afraid before. Now they are. "They will come," the AI warned, "and not just the Dominion." "Good," Kale said. "Let them all come." He turned and left the bridge. Down in the medical bay, the refugees were being treated, bandages, fluids.com voices. Some were already recovering. Others were still frozen, unsure what kind of world they had stepped into. An old woman with cracked glasses gripped Kale's arm as he passed. "Who are you?" she asked, her voice trembling. Kale paused. "No one," he said quietly. "Just the last to remember." She didn't understand, but she nodded anyway. He moved on. In the lower hangar, a secret chamber opened. Kale walked through it alone. Only the AI followed, projected as a voice from the walls. "You'll need more than ships," it said. "It will bring laws, armies, judgments." Kale stood. In front of an armored vault, it opened with a hiss. Inside was a weapon, or what was left of one. Not a gun, not a bomb. A man. Or at least once. The body floated in a cryo chamber. Skin gray. Muscles barely alive. But the machine was. Still pumping. Still humming. Designation. Unit 01 Seraph Protocol, the AI whispered. Earth's last engineered soldier. Never deployed. Kale stared at the figure. Then at the walls of the chamber, covered in writing, names, equations, memories. Earth's last hope wasn't just technology. It was what we made of ourselves. He placed his hand on the cryoglass. "Wake him." The AI hesitated. He was unstable, too dangerous, too human. "So am I," Kale said. The system hissed. The light turned from blue to red, and the Seraph began to breathe again. Far across the galaxy, the message spread. The species who had once laughed at Earth now fell silent. The ones who had helped burn it watched the stars nervously. Old alliances shifted. War councils were called. The silence Earth once carried had become a roar, a signal so loud it could not be ignored. The Dominion was only the first to fall. Now the council was coming. Back aboard the Crimson Thread, Kale stood in the war room with 2 AI cores. Hovering beside him, a holographic galaxy spun in the center. Red marks appeared, not enemies, not ships, treaties, bans, laws, all broken. Earth had been forgotten, not just by time, but by force. It was erased from maps, cut from records. Its flag outlawed, its name cursed in courtrooms. Now, its machines had spoken again. Kale pointed to a cluster of systems near the galactic core. There, he said. That's where the silence started, where the Council first declared Earth extinct. The AI responded, Sector Thatanine, Forbidden Zone. Kale looked at the red lines that wrapped around it. I want to go back. Alone, Kale smiled faintly. No, bring the fleet. You're challenging the Council itself. I'm not challenging, Kale said. I'm reminding. He stared at the red lines again. They forgot who we were. His voice dropped low. Let's help them remember. In the cryo bay, the Seraph opened his eyes. Cold, blue, unblinking. The AI checked his vitals. He's stabilizing. Memory unclear. Power returning. Kale walked in. The Seraph turned his head slowly, watching him. Do you remember Earth? Kale asked. The Seraph blinked once and nodded. Kale handed him a piece of old cloth. Frayed, dusty, ancient, a faded symbol, the Earth flag. Seraph took it and didn't let go. Kale looked at the lights flickering around them. They thought we were dead. The Seraph's voice was gravel. So did I. Kale turned to leave. Then let's show them how wrong we all were. The silence of Earth was never just about retreat. It was never surrender. It was a warning waiting to be heard. And now, the galaxy was listening. The fleet moved like ghosts. Kale stood on the bridge of the Argent Halo, watching the stars shift. They were headed toward Sector Thatanine, a place wiped from all modern star maps, a place every advanced species had agreed never to speak of. To the galaxy, it was forbidden space. To Kale, it was home. The AI's voice was calm, but firm. Entering the exclusion zone in 1 hour, no signals inside, no life, no activity for 147 years. Kale said nothing. He was focused armor on, helmet clipped to his belt, eyes locked on the screen. Behind him, the rest of the reawakened Earth fleet followed. 19 Defender-class ships now answered to Kale's command. Most of them had been asleep since Earth's final days. Their hulls were old, their minds artificial, but their guns were sharp. The Seraph stood at Kale's side, silent. His body had healed fast, too fast. His eyes were bright with something deep, something dangerous. He had spoken only once since waking. He said one name, Genesis Gate. Kale had heard it before, a secret Earth project, long buried. A failsafe. As the fleet drifted deeper into forbidden space, strange static filled the screens. The stars grew darker, lights dimmed. Something about the sector felt wrong. Even the AI noticed. Spatial distortion increasing. Signals bending. No Dominion tech can cause this. This is old. Older than the Council. Kale stepped closer to the screen. They had arrived. At the center of Thatanine floated a dead planet black. Broken, split open like a cracked skull. Orbiting it was a ring massive, rusted, barely intact. The AI whispered the name, Genesis Gate, project classified, accessing Earth archives. The screen flickered, then stabilized. A 3D projection rose from the center. An old Earth general recorded just before the fall. His voice echoed with static and urgency. If you're seeing this, Earth is gone. The last card is the gate. We locked it, buried it. But if someone ever needs it again, the key is human. Then the image faded. Kale turned to the Seraph. You knew this was here? Seraph nodded. My memories were fractured, but the signal woke them. Kale looked at the Genesis Gate. His heart beat faster. This was why they tried to erase. Earth, not just fear, not just revenge. They feared what Earth had built, what it had left behind. Suddenly, the alarm blared. Unknown vessels approaching. Cloaked, multiple signatures. High-speed trajectory. They've been here. Kale's eyes narrowed. They followed us. Out of the shadows came ships Kale had never seen before. Sleek, silver, cold. They bore no flags, no heat signatures. But he recognized the shape. Council enforcers. The kind that erased planets. The AI confirmed. Council purifiers. 7 total. They do not capture. They burn. Kale didn't flinch. Prepare to engage. The Seraph stepped forward. No. Let me go to the gate. Oh. Kale turned sharply. You can't go alone. I was made for it, the Seraph said. You can't open it. I can. Kale hesitated and nodded. Take a squad if it's a weapon. We'll need it. The Seraph left. The battle began. The council ships struck first, cutting beams of silent plasma, slicing into the rearmost defender ships. But the Earth fleet was no longer sleeping. Kale gave the order, and 19 war machines lit up the dark with fury. Autonomous drones filled the void. Kinetic torpedoes roared. The Crimson Thread took a direct hit to the side. Her shields held. Barely. Kale's voice was steady. Keep them off the gate. Stall them. Meanwhile, the Seraph's shuttle landed on the broken ring. Dust clouds rose as he stepped out. The surface was ancient, lined with symbols. Old Earth's code mixed with something alien. He followed the pulse. The warmth in his core to a door. He placed his hand on it. The metal hissed, recognized him, opened. Inside was not a weapon. It was a chamber, and in the center, a sphere of white light, alive, watching, waiting. The Seraph stepped forward, mesmerized. You remember me? He whispered. The sphere pulsed once. Then a voice clear, female, human. Unit 01, Seraph. Guardian of the last light. Authorization confirmed. The room lit up with data. Thousands of star systems, maps, plans, old Earth knowledge. All of it, and one thing more. A fleet. One last fleet. Ships not made for war, but for creation. Terraformers. Planet seeds. Human DNA banks. The true legacy of Earth. Not death. Rebirth. The Seraph fell to one knee. He had thought he was a weapon, but Earth had made him a key, a living password. He activated the chamber, and the gate came alive. Back in orbit, the tide of battle was turning. 3 defender ships were gone. 2 more were crippled. Kale's ship was next, shields down to 12%. Weapons overheating. The AI's voice was grim. We cannot hold. 5 minutes at most. Kale stared at the screen. No, we didn't come here to win a battle. We came to light a fire. Then all at once, the gate lit up. A beam of white light shot from its core. Every screen on every ship flickered. Earth language scrolling fast. The council ships froze in place, then began to disintegrate, their cloaks tearing. Holes melting as if they had touched something holy. Kale's crew stared in awe. What is that? Someone whispered. Kale answered quietly. Memory. The gate wasn't a weapon. It was a truth bomb. Old Earth history, unfiltered, raw, poured out into the stars, and the stars remembered, all across the galaxy. Old satellites activated, codes reappeared, treaties began to fall apart, species that once cursed. Earth now questioned the Council because they had seen what Earth had done, what Earth had survived, and what Earth was becoming again. The Seraph stood. Beneath the glowing sphere, the gate's true purpose now revealed. He turned to the stars. Send the message, he said. The AI answered. What message? He smiled. Earth lives. Kale stood on the command deck, eyes still locked on the light of the gate. He felt it deep in his chest. The sound of silence had been broken. And now, the galaxy had heard the first whisper, but it wouldn't stop there, because Kale had one final goal. Not just survival, not even revenge, redemption, to remind the stars what Earth truly was, not a monster, not a myth, but a spark, and sparks. Start fires? Kale didn't speak for a long time. The Genesis gate glowed behind him, still humming with light. The war was over for now, but the galaxy was already shifting. The message had spread faster than any fleet. Not a weapon, not a threat. Just the truth. Earth had lived, and it had never truly died. On the bridge of the Argent Halo, all systems were quiet. The crew, both human and AI, stood silent, watching new signals pour in. One by one, species across the stars were breaking there. Silence, messages, questions, demands, and warnings. The AI voice came through with rising tension. Kale, multiple transmissions inbound. Not Dominion, not Council. New ships detected. Unknown origins. Kale turned slowly. His eyes narrowed. Where? Everywhere. They heard the signal. The stars began to flicker bright pulses, strange lights bending signals. It was like watching old scars reopen, like the sky itself remembered Earth's fire. Kale glanced at the Seraph, who stood near the viewport. Eyes locked on the galaxy beyond. They're coming, the Seraph said. Who? Everyone. Across the stars. Power had shifted. Some species bowed their heads in shame, remembering Earth's kindness before the fall. Others tightened their fists, fearing what Earth's return might mean. But a third kind, the worst kind, chose something else. Ra, to make sure the past stayed buried, to wipe out Kale, the Seraph, the Gaetan, everything the humans had. Left behind in a cold moon system on the edge of Council space, secret armada was gathering. Thousands of ships, built in silence, designed for one thing: extinction. Back on the Argent Halo, Kale moved through the central core. He passed sleeping cryopods, old Earth relics. Long-forgotten tech scavenged from the ruins of Beacon-6. They had no official allies. No, home planet. But they had memory, and they had something else. Fear. Yeah, their own, but the galaxy's fear. Could be powerful. The AI projected a hologram of a new signal. Message repeating. No ID, no translation available. But it's targeting the gate. Kale listened to the sound. A pulse. Low rhythmic. Growing stronger. What is it? A hunter's tone, the AI said flatly. Old code. It's locking on. Kale looked at the stars. It's a war call. The Seraph stood alone in the lower vault, staring at the gate. He had seen much in his first life. Now in this second, he felt something new. Something. Didn't have a name for hope. Hope not for war. For something bigger. A beginning. Then he heard it, a voice inside. It's the light of the gate. It wasn't just a message anymore. It was inviting something back, Jabo. Preparing the Seraph's body tensed. It's waking more than just memories. Hours later, Kale stood in the war room again, surrounded by his command team. AI units flickered and whispered. Maps glowed with fresh red. The Hunter Armada had entered. Known space, unknown weapons, unmatched speed. They were not machines, not Council. Something. Older. Something darker. The AI had no match in any record. We don't know who they are. It said, but they know Earth, and they've been waiting. Kale tapped the console slowly. They're not coming to fight. No, they're coming to erase. The fleet mobilized every Earth ship, every surviving drone, every orbital defense system around the gate activated. It wouldn't be enough. But Kale didn't plan to win. He planned to stall. Because somewhere deeper in the gate, something was. Still opening a second vault, locked for over a century, not by code, by bloodline, and only one person still carried the match. Kale, the AI, scanned him now. DNA confirmed. Voice print aligned. Accessing final archive. Earth's original exile logs. Kale stood still as ancient files unraveled. Not stories, secrets. What really happened to. Why the Council turned, and why humanity had let it happen. It wasn't just war, it was betrayal. Earth had uncovered something buried deep in space, older than the stars that the Council wanted hidden. When Earth refused to stay silent, the purge began. The silence wasn't surrender, it was strategy. They erased themselves, so they could return when it mattered most. And that moment was now. Kale emerged from the vault with a small, black cased inside was a sphere, not glowing. Not alive, but it pulsed gently when Kale touched it. The AI was startled. What is that? Kale's voice was low. The first code. The room fell silent. The AI spoke again, slower now. That shouldn't exist. It was destroyed before the great silence. No, Kale said. It was hidden. He turned to the Seraph. This is how we survive the next wave. The Seraph stepped forward. And what if the code fails? Kale looked him in the eye, Then we'd burn everything, take them with us. The Hunter Armada arrived in black waves, ships shaped like claws, engines silent, no communication, only intent. Their lead vessels scanned the Genesis Gate and powered its main weapon. The AI screamed. Warning, Planet Breaker class weapon charging. Estimated impact. Full system wipe. Kale stood tall. No. He turned to the AI. Activate the failsafe. Broadcast the first code. Everywhere, sir, it could destabilize. Do it. A beam of data shot from the Argent Halo. Traveling faster than light, it didn't just target ships. It rewrote space. Across the galaxy, old machines activated, buried AI cores reawakened. Ships long thought dead came online. A hidden Earth fleet coded into deep. Space itself was calling back, and they were answering. The Seraph looked to Kale. You're waking ghosts. No. Kale said, I'm waking defenders. Above them, the Hunter Armada moved, and for the first time, it hesitated, because Earth wasn't silent anymore, and its defenders were rising. The sky was on fire. The Hunter Armada had opened its full wings, thousands of black ships swarming like a living shadow, blotting out the stars around the Genesis Gate. They had no banners, no words, just one clear goal: erase humanity again. This time, humanity was ready. Kale stood on the bridge of the Argent Halo, the first code pulsing in his hand. All across the ship, lights flickered as the old Earth systems powered up, systems no one had seen in over 100 years. Behind him, the rest of the Earth fleet floated in formation. Not perfect, not pretty, but ready. Woken from the ashes, brought back to life by truth, memory, and fire. The AI's voice broke through the silence. Gate status, charged. Ancient signal complete. First code has reached 91% activation. Kale gave a single nod. Then we go loud. The Hunter ships moved fast, but something had changed. Their weapons began to falter. Not from failure, from confusion. The first code wasn't just a defense system, it was a language. A command. And it spoke directly to the galaxy's oldest machines, even the Hunter tech. Buried deep inside, Kale didn't need to understand how it worked, he just needed to hold the line long enough for the message to finish. But the Hunters weren't going to let that happen. Their main vessel dropped into orbit, massive, jagged, and humming with dark energy. Its weapon began to charge again. The AI blared. System targeting. Beam in 60 seconds. Full planetary annihilation likely. The Seraph stepped beside Kale. This is it. Kale didn't answer. Instead, he turned to the communication panel and opened a direct channel to every Defender-class ship. Every remaining drone, every forgotten satellite that still had power. His voice echoed across the fleet. This is Kale. Of Earth, today, they try to end us again. They want silence, obedience, nothing more. He looked out the viewport into the sea of death, headed for them. But Earth was never just fire and war. Earth was memory. Earth was learning. Earth was... Willie held the pulsing sphere high, and now Earth is awake. The message ended, and the fleet responded. Every Defender ship began to shift. Armor folding, wings extending. New energy poured through their cores as old tech fused with new power. These weren't just ships anymore. They were survivors with teeth. The first wave hit hard. Hunters swarmed the front lines, shredding to Earth ships in seconds. But the AI had predicted the tactic. Defender drones exploded in coordinated EMP bursts, disabling Hunter shields. Earth's ships closed in, not with lasers, but with kinetic fire, railguns, old-style missiles, and magnet-charged flak storms. For every Defender that fell, 3 Hunter ships burned. The sky turned white with fire, but still, the Hunter flagship remained. It launched its beam. A direct hit. The Genesis Gate shook. Plates cracked. The power core surged. The AI screamed. Gate core destabilizing. Collapse imminent. Kale stared at the damage. They couldn't win this by Forsey turned to the Seraph. There's one chance left. They entered the gate's vault together. Inside, the final layer of Earth's last secret pulsed, waiting. A portal, not a weapon, not a ship. Something far older, a bridge. Across space, across time to somewhere. Else the Seraph placed his hand on the center control. The gate recognized. Him lights surged. The bridge opened. Kale understood now. The gate wasn't Earth's last hope. It was its first step forward. A chance to begin again, somewhere untouched, somewhere safe. The AI spoke softly. The bridge is unstable. You cannot hold both ends. One must go forward. One must stay behind. To seal the way. Kale looked to the Seraph. He already knew, but the Seraph shook his head. You're the voice. You carry the story. He handed Kale the first code sphere. Was made to stand guard. Let me do that. Kale tried to argue, but the Seraph smiled. Let the galaxy remember us both. Then, without waiting for reply, he stepped back into the gate core and began the sequence. Kale ran. He boarded the Argent Halo again, just as the bridge lit with white energy. All units. Treat coordinates uploaded. Form on me, the fleet. Battered but alive, turned toward the light. The Seraph stood inside the gate, surrounded by fire, as the Hunter flagship closed in. He looked up, eyes calm, and he whispered, We are not gone. We are growing. Then he triggered the final lock. The gate exploded in a flash of light, not death, but rebirth. The bridge closed. The Genesis system vanished from the stars, and the Hunters found only dust far across the galaxy. In a quiet system no map had ever marked. A fleet of defender ships drifted into orbit around a pale blue world. Green dot untouched. Waiting dot Kale stood on the bridge. His eyes tired. His chest heavy, but he smiled. They had made it. Not just a few ships. An idea. Earth had never been a place. It had always been a spirit, and now it had room to grow again behind him. The AI reported quietly, seeding protocols ready. Atmospheric match confirmed. This world is viable. Kale placed the first code, sphere into a slot beside the helm. The system hummed. The new world began to change. Toward me. Stabilizing, welcoming, he turned to his crew. Human and AI alike. Tell the stars we're still here.